review. It's a nice break talking about Suicide Squad. Okay. Okay, card review time. Alright. Next up we have the rare cards, and so here we see them there, 3 rare cards. We got a Bookworm. Bookworm is a 6 mana 3/6 dragon. If you're holding a dragon, destroy an enemy minion. Oh, I'm sorry. Destroy an enemy minion with 3 attack or less. So let's start that again. I don't know why I touched the mouse there. Let's start that again. Okay. Next up we have the rare cards. First up we have Bookworm, 6 mana 3/6 dragon, battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, destroy an enemy minion with 3 attack or less. So my first impression of this card was very, very good. I compared it to Stampeding Kodo. Stampeding Kodo, as I said, is seeing a lot of play nowadays because in the warrior dominated meta, there's a lot of good targets with 2 or less attack, and I think 3 or less attack just adds an extra level of flexibility, which makes this card very, very good. Of course, it's not Stampeding Kodo, it's 1 mana more, but with 1 mana better stats, +1/+1 on the Stampeding Kodo. But the dragon tag is really important. So, because it's a conditional effect, you need a dragon to be holding it. So you probably need to be running like 8 to 10 dragons. I mean, 6 to 8 dragons in your deck to get this effect off consistently. But I think it is powerful. I think it fits with the kind of tempo style play that a lot of these dragon decks are playing nowadays. They play on curve minions with strong battle cries. This is a very strong battle cry. It's very high tempo. If you hit a 4-drop with this creature, it's extremely powerful. I think this will see a lot of play. It kills your if there's a lot of dragon decks around, it kills other bookworms. It kills your Twilight Guardians. So it's you can get a lot of value from this card. I think it's a good card, and especially when you look at the other dragon cards that we have at the moment. The 6 mana slot is kind of weak. The only 6 mana dragon that people are playing are the Draconid Crusher, and the Draconid Crusher is just not that good if you're not playing a very high tempo / aggro style dragon deck. So the Bookworm, I think, will see a lot of play in his mid-range control style dragon deck. It fits the theme very well. I think to be honest, I think it's a good card. Some people have knocked it quite a lot. They say it's too conditional. And the 6 mana is too late. Is the biggest argument. Say like 6 mana is too late to be playing this card. You want to be. It'd be better if it was exactly the same as Stampeding Kodo, but a dragon. So like 5 mana 2/5 dragon code version of Kodo. But I still think it's fine. I still think it'll see some play. Maybe you only run 1 copy rather than 2. I'm not sure, but I think it's a solid card. I'm definitely going to be using it in my dragon decks. And I think people are underestimating how good this card is. I think it's a very strong card. Next up we got Moat Lurker. Pretty ugly looking card. It's pretty gross. 6 mana 3/3. Terrible stats, but the battle cry is destroy a minion, death rattle, re-summon it. So the question is, what do you want to be doing with the minion? So the minion can either be an opponent's minion. So if they have a very annoying taunt, maybe like a what do you call it, a Druid of the Claw or a Ancient of War, then you destroy the minion, and then you hope that this minion doesn't die, so then it never gets resummoned. Right? That's the standard good value from the card. The crazy situation is like you have a Sylvanas, which steals an opponent's minion with a death rattle. You can maybe attack with a Sylvanas first, then play a Moat Lurker, kill your own Sylvanas, steal the opponent's minion. Your Moat Lurker then gets killed at some point. Then your Sylvanas comes back, and then you can steal another minion, and then you play N'Zoth, and then when you play N'Zoth, it resummons 2 Sylvanases. Right, so that's the dream, right? That's the dream. I think the stat distribution is too poor. At 6 mana, when you're destroying a minion, 3 health is very easy to remove. The attack is not significant enough. It trades very poorly, and there's a lot of spells that deal 3 damage. There's Frostbolt, there's Eviscerate, this Fiery War Axe can remove this very easily. So the body is not threatening enough, the attack is not threatening enough, and I think it's just a bit too situational to see play. It's like if the effect comes off, like I said on the Sylvanas, or maybe a Kern, it's very very powerful, but otherwise it's a bit too slow. It's a bit easy to remove, and the mana cost is way too high. It's at 6 mana. It's very very awkward to use this card flexibly and effectively. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll see play in some N'Zoth decks that can sustain the tempo loss played from playing this card, and then hold out till they play and get the super value off the N'Zoth later on. But I'm not too sure. I think it's a little bit too slow, and yeah, that's as simple as that really. The other potential for this card is an Evolve Shaman again. So you destroy a big enemy minion, and then you play Evolve, and then this becomes a random 7-drop. So you probably get like 7/7 with the stats for that. So pretty okay card if you can evolve it. But again, Evolve Shaman has proved to be just not as good as aggro or mid-range aggro Shaman, so probably not going to see any real play. Okay. Next we have Avian Watcher. Battle Cry. If you control a secret, gain +1/+1 and taunt. It's a 5-mana 3/6 body. So if the Battle Cry triggers, it becomes a 4/7 taunt. Now a 4/7 taunt is very very good. It's very hard to get through. It stops aggro decks right in their tracks, and the 4 attack is pretty significant. It's a pretty big breaking point. It kills your Imp-Gang bosses. It kills your Dark Iron Dwarves. It kills your rogue 5/4s, the one that gives you the coin. The Tomb Pillager, that's the one, the Tomb Pillager. So it kills your Tomb Pillager. So the four attack is a big breaking point. So Battle Cry triggers, it's very very good. So the question you have to ask is it good without the Battle Cry? Is a 3/6 for 5 mana good? And the answer is no. A 5 mana 3/6 without taunt is terrible. And so why is it terrible? As I said, the four attack is a big breaking point. It kills a lot more stuff at 4 attack than 3 attack, and the 6 health is just not really that good with the attack so low. If it was like a 4/5, if it was like a 5 mana 4/5, it might see some play. At 3/6, it trades so poorly with 4 drops. I'm just not sure that it would be good. So the question is, if the Battle Cry is so important that it triggers, then how reliably can it get to trigger? If you control a secret, you gain +1/+1 and taunt. So, as I said earlier, having a secret reliably on your next turn is very very hard. So it's most likely a secret that you play will get triggered the next turn, unless it is Ice Block, because Ice Block only triggers when you take fatal damage, right? So, it won't see play in any kind of like secret hunter or secret mage or secret paladin, because these secrets just trigger so quickly, and you're very unlikely to have a secret at the start of your next turn. It definitely won't be reliable enough. So the question is it good in Freezer Mage? Not really, because it doesn't fit the theme of the deck. It's not drawing you those key cards, those key damage cards. It does stop some face damage, but you're probably better off just playing removal and freeze effects and board clear. So I don't think this card will see any play. I think the effect is too unreliable, and the stat distribution without the effect is not good enough. So I think the card is terrible. It won't see any play. It's too bad. In Arena, it's still also terrible. 5 mana 3/6. The Battle Cry will almost never trigger in Arena. So even worse in Arena. Terrible card. Won't see any play. All right, that does it for the res. Next is the commons. Not that many commons. Arcanosmith. 4 mana 3/2, summon a 0/5 minion with taunt. So a 0/5 taunt is not that good. Even though you're getting effectively 3/7 worth of stats for the mana cost, which sounds good, but because there's 5 of that health is with a 0 attack creature, it's not really that good in terms of getting ahead on board. It's kind of like playing a 3/2 stealth heal for whatever minion has to trade into the 0/5 taunt. So is that good? I guess it's okay. but the 0.05 so generally like 0.5 taunts just are not good. Anything with like low attack and high health taunts just don't see much play. Mogushan Wardens doesn't see any play. Silverback Patriarch doesn't see any play, and it's because they don't kill enough stuff when minions trade into it. And so is the 3/2 body then gonna trade very well? Well, at 4 mana, your opponent's 4 drop is gonna likely have more than 3 health. So the 3 attack on the 4 mana creature is going to be trading down onto a 3 drop, and then you only have a 0/5 left over. Is that good enough? Not really. And in most decks nowadays, the 4 drop slot is the strongest one. In Paladin, you got True Silver and Blessing of Kings and Consecrate and Keeper of Alderman, etc. In Hunters now we got Barnes. In Warrior we got the Bloodhoof Brave. So it's competing with a lot of cards on 4. I don't think it's going to see any plane constructed. I think there are just much more powerful class cards that are going to beat this out, and much more powerful legendary cards. I don't see any deck that this could fit in. Again, maybe an Evolve Shaman. You play this in a 0/5 taunt. 0/5 taunt is quite hard to remove, so it survives the turn. Then you evolve both of them, you get a 5 drop, and I don't know what the 0/5 taunt is. I assume probably 1 or 2 mana. Then you get like a 2 or 3 mana cost minion. So maybe it's okay. Maybe with all this support, Evolve Shaman will be a bit better, but I don't know. Evolve Shaman just seems so bad, so inconsistent with the high level of RNG involved. So I'm not sure. I don't think it'll work in any of the current decks other than Evolve Shaman, and Evolve Shaman is kind of on the fence. The next up we got Violent Illusionist. Now this is a really cool effect. During your turn, your hero is immune, and it's a 3 mana 4/3 body, which is okay for a 3 drop. It's not really on the same power level as the other 3 drops that you need in constructed, but it's okay stat distribution. But I don't think you're going to be playing this card on curve. You're definitely going to be playing this card in conjunction with other effects where your hero is going to be taking a lot of damage. And so the biggest deal, in my opinion, is fatigue. So if your hero is immune, you take 0 fatigue damage. So in very late control decks, you can play this card. If you can somehow keep it safe, maybe hide it behind some taunt minions, you can take infinite fatigue damage and never never die, unless your opponent can remove this card. So I think it's really cool to play in a fatigue style deck. I don't know whether you'd want to play this card, because most of the fatigue style decks now are running at least Star Seeker and the Golden Monkey as their win condition at the end, rather than using this. Maybe this will provide an alternate way to win with fatigue, but I think it's a very cool effect. If it doesn't see play this expansion, I think the effect is too powerful to not see play in other expansions. So very cool card. Another synergy it has is with weapons, of course. So Hunter has a weapon, the Gladiator's Longbow, which is a 7 mana 5/2 weapon, I believe, and that card is it's actually quite good if you play with it. Like, it's pretty solid removal. The reason why it doesn't see play in much Hunter decks is because Hunter decks just want to go face a bit more, and then the immune effect is not as good. But if you're playing maybe Warrior or Rogue, then this kind of card is quite good. Because the problem with these decks is that they use their weapons to gain tempo, but then if they use the weapon too much, they take too much face damage. So a Violet Illusionist on the board will stop them from taking that face damage. I think it might fit in some Warrior decks, because you play War Axe on 2, you play Violet Illusionist on 3, then the second charge on the War Axe then is you're not taking any fatigue damage, and you're playing an on-curve minion. I think the only thing stopping this from seeing play in Warrior decks is that there are just other good 3 drops, right? There's the Acolyte, the Ravaging Ghoul, and the Raging Worgen. Not Raging Worgen, the Frothing Berserker. So if it doesn't see play in Warrior, then that's why. Just because there's just too many good cards in the 3 mana slot. But it definitely, as Frothing Berserker gets rotated out, as these other 3 mana cards get rotated out, I definitely see Violet Illusionist having its place in Warrior, as Fiery War Axe is always going to be there. Furthermore, I think it's okay in like Handlock, because in Handlock you're quite happy to tap in the early game to gain card advantage, but in the late game, if you haven't drawn that Reno and you feel like you have to tap to try and get that Reno, but you're taking extra damage every time you do it, playing a Violet Illusionist means you get to play your hero power and not take any damage as a result. So is that powerful enough to justify playing an arena deck? Yeah, I think probably, because in arena deck you're only playing one of each card anyway. There are some cards in there which are kind of sketchy and not really super powerful. So I think this card is okay. As I said, like the stats are pretty good for a 3-drop. So I think it's a very cool card. It's a very powerful card, and we'll see whether it sees any play in constructed now. But if it doesn't in this expansion, I'm sure it will in future expansions. Very happy this card is printed. I think it's a very cool card. Yeah. Okay. Zubot. Zubot. Battlecry. Give a friendly Beast, Dragon, and Murloc +1/+1, and the card itself is a mech. It's a 3-mana 3/3. So there's a bit of this theme going on in the expansion. This Beast, Dragon, and Murloc mech synergy with the Curator, and now this card, and there's another card later on we'll get onto. But is this card good enough? So what's the dream with this card? If you're gonna hit a Beast and a Dragon, you maybe play like you probably play like Finley on 1, you play Fairy Dragon on 2, and then you play this on 3, and then if provided both of those creatures survive, you have a 2/4 Finley, you have a 4/3 Fairy Dragon, and a 3/3 Zubot, and that's crazy, right? You're basically getting 5/5 with the stats for 3 mana. That's nuts. But is that likely to happen? Like, hardly ever. So what's the next best scenario? You probably hit one creature with this deck, so you either hit either a Finley, either a Fairy Dragon, or either maybe like a Fiery Bat as a 1-mana beast, or the Kindly Grandmother on 2 if you're a hunter. So what decks do I see this playing in? I don't think I'll see any playing hunter. The 3-mana slot is way too competitive. You've got the Cloaked Huntress that we talked about earlier. We've got the Eaglehorn Bow. We've got the Animal Companion. We've got the Carrion Grub. Unleash the Hounds. Kill Command. So, there's so many 3-mana cards in Hunter. I think the 3-mana slot is too saturated, and there's just simply no room for this card. The effect is not powerful enough to overtake those cards. It's not consistent enough. So I don't think this card will see any play in Hunter. So what other decks might I see playing? Maybe in a kind of Dragon Paladin that we talked about earlier. So Dragon Paladin has that new 3-mana card that summons the 2/1/1 whelps. That card is probably better than this card. So what early game dragons are you going to be playing? Are you going to be playing the Fairy Dragon? Maybe if Dragon Priest possibly is marginally competitive, you play the Twilight Whelp on turn 1. It survives, and then you manage to play this on turn 3, and then it becomes a 3/4. I guess that's fine, but I don't know. I think the effect is powerful if it hits just one creature, but even just hitting one creature is hard. And if you're playing a 3-mana 3/3 and it doesn't hit anything, then it's really, really bad. And it's not really enough mech synergy to make the mech tag worth anything. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to see that much play. I think the decks. I think if Hunter didn't have such a saturated 3-mana slot, it might see play. I think the Dragon decks have better options. Dragon Warrior has all the 3-drops I mentioned earlier. Dragon Priest. Don't play Priest. Priest is terrible. Beast Druid. So you can buff a Beast. So if you're playing Beast Druid, a lot of them play Finley and the Raven. So you're pretty likely to hit one Beast. So maybe in Beast Druid you're competing against the Raptor. The Raptor is not super good, but it's pretty good. And yeah, so I think maybe in Beast Druid you might see one copy of this. I definitely don't think you'd see two. Because it can only hit one Beast. That's the thing. It's not like saying give all Beasts, Dragons, and Murlocs +1/+1. It can only hit one of each. So because of that, I think you would only run one of this card if you were to run it. I definitely don't think you'd run two, because it itself is not either a Beast, Dragon, or Murloc. So pretty cool card, pretty fun card, but not really competitive. And you got Pantry Spider, 3-mana 1/3, Battlecry, summon another one, 1/3 Spider, assuming probably another Beast. So I don't think it's good. So you are getting 2/6 for the stats for 3 mana, which is okay, but to that kind of stat distribution is really poor. It trades really poorly. 1/3s, getting two 1/3s, you could maybe think it's like getting like two Malkazar imps, or like two basically, like you get 1 mana 1/3s, right? So you're getting 2 1 mana 1/3s for 3 mana, which is not really good. And unless you can buff them, it's really really bad. And can you buff them reliably on for 3 mana? Like 3 mana is quite expensive for these tempo like zoo style buff decks. So I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. I think the stats are really really poor. Again, it's okay in Evolve Shaman because you just evolve your 2 3 mana cards into 4 mana cards, but man, I mean, I feel like I'm saying it's good in Evolve Shaman too much. Maybe Evolve Shaman gets good, but I don't know. Like Evolve Shaman is just so bad. Like you're basically playing bad cards to justify playing Evolve Shaman. And what if you don't draw Evolve, right? Or what if you evolve into Doomsayer at some point? So Evolve Shaman, I just don't think will ever be competitive. I don't think Pantry Spider is going to help that at all. It's a pretty bad card in Arena. You don't want to be picking this card. It trades too poorly. But if you have to, I guess it's better than like Wisp or something. Okay, then we have the next set of common cards. There's the Netherspite Historian. This is a 2 mana 1/3. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. So how good is this card? It's pretty hard to assess. So you're basically getting 1 mana worth of stats, right? You get, as I said, we get the 1 mana 1/3s quite a lot nowadays, and so you're getting like an unbuffed Tunnel Trog with the stats for 2 mana, which is pretty bad. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. So that's actually quite a powerful effect if you think about it, because a lot of the time when you have dragon decks, a lot of the dragon synergistic cards rely on other dragons in order for the effect to trigger. So for example, Twilight Guardian needs another dragon in the hand to trigger. So if you're holding 1 Twilight Guardian and Netherspite Historian, you can play Netherspite Historian on 2, and then you can discover a dragon, and then your Twilight Guardian is then active on 4 because you've discovered that dragon. So that's good. Plus, discovering late game cards is good because it means you're not going to get them in the mulligan phase. It's not taking up cards in your deck. You're getting extra cards later on, so it leaves you more room to run spells, to run tech cards, to run other dragons, early game cards. So I think I think the effect is very good. It's very powerful. I just don't know whether the stat distribution is too weak to justify playing. I think with the Beastro, I think it's going to be a very heavy zoo meta, a very heavy. I think Temple Warrior is that, because zoo is going to be still powerful. Temple Warrior is still going to be powerful. Dragon Temple Warrior is still going to be powerful, and Aggro Shaman is always going to be powerful, as long as the 4 mana 7/7 and Doomhammer are as they are. So I think I don't know whether these slow dragon decks are going to be able to make it in the meta. I think it's just going to be way too aggressive. Netherspite Historian, it doesn't really help the slow deck stay alive in the early game. It trades very very poorly. The only thing it kills effectively is Possessed Villager and Argent Squire and stuff like that. But you don't really want your 2 mana card trading down with the 1 mana card that slowly. So I think people will try to make it work in dragon decks. I just think the meta will be too fast to be competitive. I think it'll be good in a dragon deck, but I don't think dragon decks will be good. So yeah, there we go. And we got Pompous Thespian 3/2 taunt. Like, what else do you want me to say? It's a 3/2 taunt. Power creep over Frostwolf Grunt. It's like anodized Robocub, but strictly worse because you can't choose whether it's a 3/2 or 2/3, and it's not a mech. It's a waste of a card. I don't know why they printed it. I don't know why they just didn't make a better priest card or something. Terrible. Whatever. Alright. Arcane Anomaly. Oh, once you only play. Arcane Anomaly. Whenever you cast a spell, give this minion +1 health. So it's kind of similar to Bone Guard Lieutenant and Mana Worm. So Bone Guard Lieutenant gains health from the hero power. Now the hero power is quite an expensive use of your mana cost, so that's why the Bone Guard Lieutenant didn't see much play. But gaining health is quite relevant. It helps you trade better. But I think generally with your one drops, you want the attack to be buffed and not the health, because with the one drops, you want to be playing very aggressively. If you're going to play one drops, you want to be playing them aggressively. You want you want the attack to stack up very, very quickly, so that your opponent feels a lot of pressure to remove it quickly. If it's just gaining health but staying at 2 attack is not threatening. So unless you could find a way to buff it effectively, so maybe if you the thing that comes to mind is if you play like a Seal of Champions or a Blessing of Kings on this card, you can buff it, buff the attack, and buff the health at the same time, and that's pretty good. But there's another card that does that, and that's the Dragonkin Sorcerer, right? The 4 mana 3/5 that also gains 1 health when you buff it, and that effect is not really that powerful because the buff cards by themselves are powerful enough, and the +1 health is just irrelevant. So will it see play in Tempo Mage? I think people will try to make it work in Tempo Mage, and then I think the conclusion they'll come to is that it's just not as good. Mana Wyrm is just much more aggressive, much more fitting with how the deck wants to be playing, which is dealing more face damage, being more aggressive in the early game. I think this card just doesn't really cut the mustard. Then we've got the Runic Egg, 1 mana 0/2. Reminds me a lot of Dragon Egg. Dragon Egg is a very, very powerful early game card if you have buff cards like Direwolf Alpha and Abusive Sergeant. I've played a lot of Dragon Egg in kind of mid-range tempo decks, and the reason why you play that Dragon Egg is because you need to keep up with the Zoo and the Aggro Shaman style decks. And it's even good if you play Dragon Egg and Zoo, it's actually fine. Like you can play Dragon Egg and Zoo and it's a pretty okay one drop because you have all these other buff cards. So the Runic Egg, how good is it compared to Dragon Egg? Well, it's pretty bad in my opinion. So people think people saying, oh, it's good if you buff it, right? But the fact that it's Death Rattle or draw a card is a big deal. It's not every time this minion takes damage, draw a card. If it was that, if it had the same text as Acolyte of Pain, it would actually be a very good card because you could give it like a Blessing of Kings, you could give it an attack buff, you can probably get at least 2 cards off this one card, and you get the body as well, which helps you trade. So if that was the effect, it'd be very, very good, but because it's Death Rattle, just draw 1 card, I think it's very, very weak. I don't think it has much synergy with anything. You definitely wouldn't play it in the Zoth deck. The Death Rattle is irrelevant in the Zoth deck, so I think it's very poorly designed card. I think the text needs to be changed to, as I said, every time this minion takes damage, draw a card. Then it's a very good, powerful card. But in its current state, Death Rattle, draw a card, very, very poor, very, very weak. Not going to see any play at all, guaranteed. In Arena, even worse. 0/2 minions, terrible. Unless you somehow draft like 5 Dark Iron Dwarves or something, it's terrible. And then finally we have Arcane Giant, and I put this card by itself because I think it's absolutely awesome. Arcane Giant is a 12 mana 8/8, costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. So the deck that pops into mind immediately is Tempo Mage, right? Tempo Mage has a lot of cheap spells you want to be playing, and this card can get reduced pretty quickly, and you could just drop this card for very low mana cost. You play Mana Wyrm on 1, you play the Sorcerer's Apprentice on 2 with a spell, so that's 1 spell by turn 2, and then turn 3 you play more spells, and then turn 4, and then you use your Flamewaker combos, and then you drop this card for maybe only like 3 or 4 mana, and you're getting a huge tempo swing when you drop this card and you play other cards on top. Now, I've heard people criticize this logic quite a lot. Some people have said, well, in the later stages of Tempo Mage, you want to be playing your Archmage Antonidas, you want to be playing your Ragnaroses, your Pyroblast, and whatever, right? You want to play these bigger, high-impact legendary cards. But in my opinion, this card is still good in Tempo Mage. It's an 8/8 body. It's a really big threat. If your opponent can't deal with it, because a lot of the time people burn their removal spells on the Flamewakers, it's pretty hard to deal with an 8/8 body that comes out so cheap and it's such a huge tempo swing. But this is not a mage only card. It's important to know that. So a lot of people see Arcane, they think, oh yeah, it's a mage card, but it's actually a neutral card. So this card can be played in Rogue, and I think has a big deal in Rogue and Miracle Rogue. You do your big gadgets in turn with your Preps for 0 mana, with your backstabs and your eviscerates and your shivs and whatever, right? All these super cheap cards, and they're all spells, and you cycle through your deck and you get to your Arcane Giant, and then boom, 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 Arcane Giant comes out for like virtually no mana whatsoever, and you have a huge minion that's super hard to remove, and that's such a big deal in Miracle Rogue. If you could have a huge minion that's hard to remove, then you buff the attack with Cold Bloods, go face, stealth it, go face, right? Like this is like almost better. This is like almost better than Van Cleef, right? Because like if you get an 8/8 Van Cleef, you're pretty happy, but this card is basically it basically is like Van Cleef, but it's like it works the whole game, right? Works with cards that you played the whole game, not just on the turn you play this card. So I think it's a very strong card in Miracle Rogue. I think it should be played in Miracle Rogue, at least one copy. And any Yogg deck, you know, as much as I hate Yogg decks and the way that they just rely on a completely random card to win the game, if you're playing a lot of spells, like Yogg Hunter is actually semi-competitive. Yogg Druid plays a lot of tokens, plays a lot of spells to generate tokens. So those are all spells. This card can get reduced to like maybe 4 or 5 mana. You play this card, it's against another big tempo swing on the board. So I think it's a very cool card. I think I'll definitely see a lot of play in a lot of spell heavy decks. Going to have a big impact on the meta. Alright guys, so I think that'll do it for my card review. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.